Good evening, everyone. I am Richa. I am a life and leadership coach. I am a clinical hypnotherapist, a teen coach, and also a counselor. Thank you so much, Wandering Minds, for having me here today. And if you can hear me, I would please request you to give me a thumbs up. So that I know that you can hear me. Can everyone hear me? Please give me a thumbs up or send a message that you can hear me. Well, today we are going to cover a very important and an interesting topic, which is how to deal with the emotions and how to deal with the anxiety and stress, specifically in relationships during these COVID times. And if we talk about relationships, then even in the healthiest of relationships, partners, thank you, Neetu. Even in the healthiest of relationships, partners don't always get along perfectly. And that's like completely normal. And part of what makes it so important is that you enjoy time apart as well to do your thing. So it's not always that partners are together all the time. A lot of times we get a lot of are able to do certain things separately from each other, which is not the case in today's date. So earlier, when the lockdown or when COVID-19 was not there, we used to spend a lot of time doing our separate activities, like going out for exercises, or something else, completing errands, just visiting a friend and all of that. But in today's date, that is not a possibility at all. And that is the reason why the stress and the emotions are so high during this time amongst the couples, which is causing a lot of problems. And being a counselor, I know that, because so many people come to me for relationship counseling these days. It has been so hectic for me these days that I just don't get time to even breathe. So I will be discussing certain things that we can do to get rid of that. And if you all have any questions, please do send your questions so that I can take them up probably later after the session. The first topic that I would like to cover here is that don't underestimate the power of a check-in. So before you raise a problem, if there is something which is going wrong amongst you as a couple, then please check in with yourself about the problem. So introspect yourself first. Ask yourself exactly how you feel. And one of the important steps to be able to do that is name the emotion that's troubling you. And sometimes we feel that, for example, I'm feeling very angry. But when I step back, when I start thinking about it, maybe I'm not angry, maybe I'm just irritated and I'm not angry. Maybe I'm just sad and I'm not angry. So it's, first of all, it's very important for us to truly understand that what is the emotion that we are going through. We need to examine that emotion, and it may reveal that I'm actually experiencing an entirely different kind of an emotion at the moment. So when irritability creeps up, for example, just take a break from the situation, sit with those feelings for a minute, do a little digging, do a little thinking over it. And maybe you're not annoyed with your partner, but just kind of frustrated by the inability to go out and do something of your own, and that is causing you some restlessness. For example, you have not had the chance to go to the gym and exercise, and that is causing you restlessness. So it's not always, everything is not about your partner. Every time your partner is not irritating you, maybe there are other reasons why you are feeling irritated, and we need to identify them. And very simple tools like just doing meditation every day for a few minutes or journaling every day for a few minutes can really help you accept your feelings, understand your feelings. You can get more self-aware with the help of things like meditation and even journaling. I'm very sure that if each one of us know what is journaling all about. Journaling is basically just making a note of all the feelings that we experience during the day and how you feel. That can be journaling, or it can be other things as well, which we can cover in a later session. But meditation and journaling are two very, very important things that can really help us being self-aware. So if your annoyance does stem from something that your partner did, for example, then explore the situation further by asking yourself, when did I start feeling like this? For example, you just got up one morning and your partner had committed that they are going to do the dishes every day. But in a row, for the third day, you have woken up and you still see that the dishes have not been cleaned, and that makes you irritated. So when did I start feeling like this is a question that we need to ask. Have I felt like this before? Is it related to something that I am doing? Like maybe you haven't taken any time to recharge yourself, your own self lately. Then questions like, is it related to something they are doing? There may be certain things that they are doing which is irritating you. Is it related to something else? Because in today's situation, the world is pretty frightening. So our emotions are likely related to something else which is going on around us, maybe in our colony, maybe in our city, maybe in our country, which is actually irritating you. And it's not exactly your partner who is irritating you. So we need to identify that. So that was, the first thing, that do a check-in with your partner. Second thing is that make time to talk to your partner. So once you identify the feeling, it is important that you really talk to your partner about that openly in a constructive kind of a discussion, which can really help you to get out of this. Stress and fear are easier to bear when shared. I must tell you that if a person is under stress, and if you just keep on accumulating those feelings of stress and accumulating those feelings of fear, it can result into much more dangerous, it can have much more dangerous repercussions for you in the long run, as compared to if you share those feelings with somebody. And since you are there with your partner, it's the best thing to just open up, have a discussion, being very respectful to each other, just vent out your feelings. And over here, the most important thing is that ensure that you are talking to them when they are calm and not when they are irritated, so that you are certain that whatever discussion you would have with them would have a logical end, would have something, a very meaningful end, instead of getting into an argument. So before you bring up the issue, consider how to open the discussion without judgment. Start by validating the situation and any stress that they might feel. For example, if they keep neglecting their share of the chores, you might say that, I know it's hard to maintain our typical routine during this difficult time, but I feel even more stressed when everything around me is just cluttered and scattered. So I would really like to keep up on housework together. And I'm wondering that how much you can help me. I'm wondering if you can do this task and I can do this task. I'm wondering that, if we can divide these tasks amongst each other, it would really be helpful for you as well as for me. So whenever you have to have a discussion with your partner, please ensure that first of all they are calm. Secondly, open that discussion in a very constructive manner, not in a destructive manner at all. For example, what the hell have you done? You are not taking care of the responsibilities assigned to you. So the moment you talk like this, it is never going to be constructive. It is always going to end up in a fight or an argument, because anyway people are very, very irritated in these times. So we need to take extra caution when we are addressing this. So acknowledge and affirming their feelings helps them feel heard too. And when you are having a discussion, the way for it to convert into a constructive discussion, you know that how irritated and angry you are feeling, but it's also important for you to identify how they are feeling, to tell them that, you know, I understand what you are going through, I understand that you are also irritated at the moment. So if you talk to them in that manner, they will also feel heard and they would be open to the discussion instead of being totally closed to the discussion. So that's a very, very important point that you must take care of. Then the next one is different emotions often have different resolutions. So working through challenging emotions doesn't always play out the same way. And your approach can vary depending on exactly what feeling you are attempting to navigate and whether they are part of the issue or not. So also remember that people don't always work through emotions in the same way. You may have different instinctive approaches toward managing tough feelings. So when tension intensifies unwanted emotions, both of you can end up struggling. And you might find it even more frustrating when their preferred method of resolution doesn't seem to help. You might wonder why they don't want to try things your way. Okay, so keep in mind that you are not the same person, so you won't see things in entirely the same way. But honest, open discussion can help you come up with a solution together, right? So if you are, we'll also discuss certain emotions now, like if you're feeling stressed or anxious. So let me tell you that you are not the only one who's feeling stressed and anxious. I think there are hardly any people across the world who are not feeling stressed and anxious. It's a global pandemic. Please, identify that each and every person around this world in this very moment is extremely stressed and anxious. And it will definitely also include your partner. No matter whether they tell you or not, they are exactly maybe at the same level or even more stressed and anxious than you. Okay, and it's not just about your partner but even other people, like maybe your children, maybe your parents, your in-laws, or your cousins, your siblings. Each and every person is stressed and anxious at this moment. So whenever we are talking to somebody, we must understand that the person I'm going to talk to may already be irritated, so I must start my discussion in a constructive manner, right? And bottling up of feelings of stress and anxiety is not good at all. It's worse. So people may resort to other coping strategies, like a lot of people I'm seeing these days are resorting to alcohol or more smoking, or binge watching Netflix all the time or Amazon Prime all the time. So even these things do not help. So we need to identify that we are under stress, we need to accept those feelings, and we must change ourselves and our discussions according to that. And if you've been together for some time, specifically for partners, you can probably read each other's moods fairly well. So if they seem a little on the edge, then try suggesting a distracting activity or something that offers a tone shift. Okay, so whether they've contributed to your stress or not, keep in mind that it's not a bad thing to want time apart. A lot of people, they come to me and tell me that since we are together, I am having to spend all my time with my partner because they feel I should always be there with them, taking care of each and everything that they want. Rather, they also say that I want my partner to be there with me all the time, helping me in each and everything. That doesn't happen, and it does not work that way. Just like the days before this, COVID or lockdown, we used to spend time separately. Even now, it's important for us to spend some time separately from each other to make things work in a proper and healthy manner. The next feeling is if you are feeling scared or concerned. So fear, confusion and uncertainty are completely normal right now, I must tell you. And the way to have conversations is that you might joke about the apocalypse as the world begins to resemble the dystopian setting in your favorite movie or TV series. But generally speaking, fear isn't comfortable. And most people don't like being afraid of things that they can't control. So instead of trying to bluff your way through what you feel, try talking about it instead. Honesty and authenticity can really help bring you closer together. And acting like nothing is wrong, on the other hand, might have the opposite effect. They might get the idea you aren't taking things seriously and become irritated or even more fearful as a result. Okay, so beyond general uncertainty about what to expect, you might also have some other specific worries about health, finances, loved ones, life ever getting back to normal or not. That is another worry these days. So if one of you still works in a public position, you might have a lot of concerns about potential exposure, which can worsen fear and stress. So when you discuss these things with each other, you may come up for a plan of how you can uh, handle your potential infections and how you can keep yourself safer if tomorrow you have to go back to work, so that you can feel more in control. So addressing specific fears can help you come up with a lot of potential strategies to help improve even the worst case scenarios and empower you. It will help you to make the situation seem easier to deal with, right? The next emotions are if you're feeling sad or upset. So the pandemic has really disrupted life in many ways, and many people around the world are dealing with grief over a lot of things. For some people, a few of their loved ones have passed away because of this. For others, they are not able to have those ceremonies or functions they had been planning for so long. For a lot of them, or rather for a lot of us, we are not able to meet people whom we really love. Like, there are so many people who are, say, abroad, and they had planned to come and meet their parents. They are not able to do that. And there are other pandemic related losses and changes. So when struggling with sadness and other distress, remind yourself that your feelings are entirely valid. It again comes to the fact that you have to accept what you are feeling. You cannot just keep thinking that, oh, everything is normal. It is going to increase your tension and stress further. Okay, so it's okay to feel sad. So make sure to give yourself space and time to grieve any losses or any missed opportunities, and just remember that everyone has losses to grieve, even if they aren't the same as yours. Okay, so just accept that this is something which is happening. It is perfectly normal to be sad. It's perfectly normal for everyone to be having some missed opportunities, and this is the reality in the world today, and I accept it. And what can I do about it? How can I make this work? That is more important, rather than just feeling sad and doing nothing about it. So if you're sad over not getting to see your family and annoyed because it seems like your partner cares more about the cancellation of their favorite show, remember that people deal with sadness in different ways. For a few people, how can they express sadness? Maybe they would like to go in the corner of their house and sit quietly alone for some time, while the others may express their sadness and grief by just watching their favorite TV show, or reading a book of their choice, or maybe just going out for jogging. So don't be irritated or angry with your partner if they choose to go out for a jog, unlike you, who wants to sit in one corner of your house and just spend some time alone. So there are different ways that people express their emotions. Just give them that space where they feel comfortable expressing their emotions, right? The other emotions are if you're feeling angry or unheard. This also happens that sometimes people do feel unheard, and that is why I covered it at the beginning of the session, that whenever you are talking to your partner, express to them that you understand them, you know that they are also going through a lot of stress, they are also going through a lot of mixed feelings, fears and anxieties because of the scenario in the world at the moment. So they will feel heard. Similarly, if you are feeling unheard, what do you think you should do? You should just be angry? No, you should not feel angry about it. And if you're feeling angry about it, then there are certain things that you can do. The first one is take a minute to relax, take some deep breath, do deep breathing. It really calms you down almost immediately. And then ask yourself that how can I communicate in the best possible manner with my partner so that it doesn't affect both of us in a negative way, right? Remind yourself that the stress and unease might have an impact on their ability as well to be present for you, and let them know that you feel unheard, and they may not realize until you say something. In one of the sessions that I had done in one of the other groups, I'm sorry, so in that session I had spoken about, we just assume that if we are sad or we are angry, our partner should automatically understand that we are sad or angry, which doesn't happen. So many times we have to calm down, take a few deep breaths, think about how to have that conversation, and just go and tell our partner that we are feeling stressed out, we are feeling angry, we are feeling very sad. Okay, because everyone is not wired in the same way. Maybe we are able to understand the other person by looking at them, but maybe they do not have that ability, and they would feel better if you can just walk up to them and tell them that you're not feeling good. So whenever you are angry, just take a pause, take a few deep breaths, think about how you are going to have that conversation, walk up to your partner, have a discussion with them, tell them that you are feeling unheard or you're feeling angry, and leave the room when you feel anger bubble up. That's very important, and I tell this to all of my clients, that the moment you feel that you are getting very, very angry and you're just not able to control, the best thing to do is just leave the room. Do not have any further discussion, because it is only going to cause destruction. It is not going to go in a constructive manner. It is not going to benefit you. Okay. The next emotions are if you're feeling neglected or mistreated, right? So trying to navigate personal overwhelm makes it difficult to remain present for others. And some people can manage distress while also offering support. Others might cope by helping loved ones cope. But if your partner needs to address their emotions first, you might end up feeling somewhat neglected, right? So maybe they don't feel up to your usual, cooking or home workout, and perhaps they seem a little short-tempered or even snappish. Hello everyone. Hi Manjusha, Sunita ji, Jyoti. Hi everyone. So both good self-care and self-soothing practices are extremely essential for each one of us to, help us tend to ourselves until we feel more capable of connection. And how can you do that? What are the self-soothing or self-care practices that we can make use of? So one of them is try and sleep as much as possible. Give ourselves those sleeping hours to lit up our mood, eating at regular intervals, being active. Go out for at least a walk or a jog daily. If you're scared of going out, do some physical exercises at home. Do regular breathing exercises like pranayam. You know, one of the best breathing exercise is alternate nostril breathing or anulom vilom. It really helps us with getting rid of stress. uh, Remind yourself often about the things that we are grateful for. Practicing gratitude is one of the best ways to come out of any kind of stress, but if done every day. So practicing gratitude is extremely essential. Be thankful for everything that we have in our life. Remind yourself of the few things that you really love. You know, maybe 5 things every day. Remind yourself of 5 things every day that you really love and you're really thankful for. Do something nice for your partner, because if you do something nice for your partner, you would know your partner the best. You know what they like, what they don't like. So do something really nice for your partner. It may not be something really huge. Even little things matter a lot. So do something for them. It will make them feel nice. It would help you in getting your connection back with them. And when you do something nice for somebody else, it always helps you getting your positivity back. It helps you feel very, very good about yourself. And find a good time to mention how you feel and work on a solution together. So, you know, we have to always think about all of these steps if we want to ease out that stress and tension in our relationships. And what is the bottom line? The bottom line is that tensions at home might be running a little higher than usual, but that's a pretty common outcome of this crisis. And you might be a little more inclined to pick at each other for little things, but try not to let the added stress strain your relationship. And you know, I always say that there are a few pillars of a healthy relationship. The pillars are the C's of a relationship. The first one is collaboration or cooperation. No relationship can exist in this world unless the two people who are in a relationship are ready to collaborate with each other, cooperate with each other to make the relationship work. So when I talk about collaboration and cooperation, it just can't be for 1 minute or 1 day or 1 hour. No, it has to be every second of your life that you spend with each other. Collaboration and cooperation is the key to a healthy relationship. The next C of relationship is commitment, which means that you have to be committed to find solutions. You have to be committed to make things work. You do not have to be committed to not make things work. So that commitment to find solutions to issues in your relationship, that commitment to make things work, the commitment to collaborate and cooperate is extremely important for a relationship to work. Okay, the next is consistency. So collaboration, cooperation and commitment need that consistency. So as I said, it's not a 1 day job or a 1 hour job or a 30 minute job. It has to be there every second of your life. You have to be consistent in your efforts to collaborate, to cooperate and to stay into the relationship. So consistency is a must. And last but the most important and not the least is communication. For any relationship to work, it's important to maintain healthy communication. And whatever we talked about right now in terms of, you know, expressing our emotions, expressing how we are feeling sad, angry, dejected, rejected, unheard, we are feeling in grief, everything you have to express in the best possible manner to make things work, right? We have to collaborate with each other, we have to cooperate with each other, we have to have consistency, and we have to communicate with each other thinking in mind that our communication needs to be in a way that it ends up in a constructive discussion and finding solutions, not in a destructive discussion, not in an argument or fight. And having said that, if you ever feel that your discussion is ending into a fight mode, then just leave that room at that very second. Another important point in a relationship is give space to each other. With this pandemic, the worst thing that has happened is that we have been put together 24/7, which was not the case earlier. So we need to identify that. Earlier we used to, partners used to get time off from each other. They used to go to their respective workplaces or go to their respective gyms or any other things that they used to do separately. But now everyone has been forced to stay together 24/7, and it's but natural that these emotions arise. But our intelligence and is in the fact that how effectively and constructively we can find solutions to the issues that are arising amongst each other, because we know that even this too shall pass. This is not going to stay here forever. Maybe it's there for the next half year or maybe one full year, but it is eventually going to go away, and then everybody is going to go back to their work and other things. So it's just a few months where we are together, and we need to make the best out of them. So anyone has any questions? I think someone asked me how to make communication more effective when a person is completely closed person. Yes, so how to make communication more effective when a person is a completely closed person? So in that case, again, you have to first think about how you are going to proceed with the discussion. Think about what all they can come up with, because you know the person well and you've been with the person for very long. Now you know how you can talk in a manner that can make the person open up and talk to you. So being a life and leadership coach, I can tell you that I get many people who are completely closed and who don't want to talk about anything, but it's up to me how I can make them talk to me. So I would ask the right kind of questions, and to answer them they have to open up. So you have to make use of your wisdom and communicate with them in an effective and an efficient manner, so that they can open up and discuss anything that they need to discuss. Any other questions? Anybody else? Do we have any more questions? So Neetu is saying, do you think, Richa, when we come about our relations, especially spouse, we don't talk about it? I don't really understand the question, Neetu. Are you saying that we don't talk about it in an open forum, or what? Could you please elaborate? Okay, yes. So in an open forum, people don't feel comfortable, talking about their spouse, definitely. But it's okay. I mean, everyone wants to have their own, everyone wants to open forum to others in general. So these things are generally confidential, and people do not want to talk about openly about their spouse. So in that case, you can always, if you want to seek help from somebody, you can always separately go to them and discuss things. Any other questions? Okay, I guess if nobody has any questions, then I'll just end this live. And if you have any questions, by the way, then you can always send me a private message, and I would definitely answer you. And my page name is Mindspring by Richa Agarwal. Please like that page to watch more lives like this, which are very useful. All right, thank you so much, Neetu. Thank you everyone for joining in, and I hope that you all liked this session. You would have gathered some knowledge. Ipsita is asking, how can we control emotions in front of kids? It's very, very important for us to control emotions in front of our kids, because our kids are picking up information, learning each and every moment, and they are picking up these emotions from their parents. Because so we need to be really cautious of how we are talking to each other in front of our kids. If you think that you are just having a discussion with your partner, and you get even a slight feeling that it is going to end up in an argument, please leave the discussion midway and go to some other room. Do not let it end up into a heated conversation between you and your partner in front of your kids. It is not at all something that you would want, because your kids are picking up all these cues all the time, and they are picking up habits, they are picking up emotions. If you are going to display your emotions of anger in front of the kids, that is what the kids are going to pick up. And even the way that we talk to each other, they learn it very fast, and they don't learn it consciously. It happens at a subconscious level. So tomorrow, if they are going to encounter a situation of that sort, that is how they are also going to react. So it's important that if we are having a discussion in front of our kids, then we behave in a constructive manner. We have a constructive discussion, we do not get agitated, and if at all we feel that we are getting agitated, then we must leave that discussion there and then and go somewhere else, not in front of the kids. We don't want to do that. Any other questions, anyone? Okay, then thank you, Neetu. Thank you, Wandering Minds. It was a pleasure being here and interacting with all of you. If you have any other questions, please send a message to me, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. Have a good night. Bye.